5 common mistakes that new heathens make. And I should state that this is my perspective. A lot of the times when I'm making videos on this channel, I'm addressing me from the past in some way, shape, or form. Or it's something that I've seen recently. And yeah, all that being said, the first thing is Mama Duck syndrome. We all kind of know of the allegory of the first thing the baby duck sees, it calls mama. And this happens with a lot of things. Specific to heathenry, this would be if you found, a channel or a source of some sort that you really liked and decided that that was the end-all be-all instead of looking around at other things, right? It's really important to diversify sources, get multiple opinions, and never trust one person in any kind of dogmatic fashion. We never want to think anyone is infallible. I've stated that multiple times on this channel, to always question everything, including myself. And we should always question everything. And that being said, even if you like a creator, including myself, always get multiple opinions. You never know if somebody's going to have a better opinion, a more well thought out opinion, or some facts or knowledge. And of course, we're always discovering new things, through archaeology or other sciences. So don't glue yourself to one specific mama duck, right? 2, forcing their worldview. So this is something that we see in a lot more fundamentalist religious types, and we end up projecting that onto our new belief system. And honestly, no matter what your belief system is, you shouldn't be trying to force your beliefs on anybody else anyway. Especially pertaining to heathenry, we're very much cultivating the individual, right? So you are trying to become better, you're trying to explore yourself more, you're trying to see what, gods resonate with you, you work with your local landvitir, and you're trying to really figure out who you are as a person and being more true to yourself. And that's one of the reasons that it's really important to not pigeonhole anybody, including yourself. Don't, and this kind of comes back to the mama duck thing, don't force yourself to believe something that somebody else does, right? Always have a reason why you're doing something. And if you don't have a reason, but you still like something, explore that, figure out why. It's always good to delve into the research rabbit hole. You never know what you'll find. Which brings me to my third one, Upg Sources. So I've stated in another video that UPG is very important for filling in the gaps. UPG, unverifiable personal gnosis, is something we use on a religious level in order to make the historical references into a religion. However, you do not want to have solely UPG sources, and in part it's to bring yourself back to center. You don't want to make the mistake of basing your entire belief system around possible false assumptions, and that's why you want to look into the history. You want to see what the arch-heathens believed, what they did, what is applicable today. Some things may not be applicable today. Some things might be useless. Some things might actually work a lot better. It really just comes down to, research and figuring out what works for you. And I mean, that's really kind of a theme in general in heathenry. And if you remember my 3 steps of belief, the first is the history. You want to look into the history of it, what the arch-heathens did. Are there any sources? Are there any historical references? Or is there any ancillary evidence that might show something? And then what do modern pagans do? If anything, get their opinions, see what they do, see what works, what doesn't. And then third, practical application. How does this apply to you? How does this apply to my life, right? Which brings me to the opposite of people that have heavy UPG sources, and that is lore lawyers. So a lore lawyer would be somebody that almost exclusively ignores their UPG or the UPG of others and sticks strictly to the lore. One of the issues with this is the gaps, as I've mentioned before in previous videos. There's just too many gaps in the sagas and the beliefs. We don't know exactly what the arch-heathens believed. We can speculate, but it's not like they actually, codified it. There was never one codified heathenry. There was never one universal dogmatic religion. And that's another reason why it's very important to figure out what kind of heathenry works for you. And then last, number 5, being too God-centric. If it works for you to be God-centric, it works for you. By no means should you stray away from that if that's your get down. Most likely, the arch-heathens were very micro over macro. And what I mean by that is that they looked at their landvitir, their ancestors, the local spirits, the alfar, before going to the gods. I mean, you'll hear this commonly from other heathen sources as well. I know Eric Wordweaver kind of talks about this a little bit. Don't make the mistake of being God-centric simply because, this comes back to that projection of worldview, that's what you're used to. Just because the religion you came from was very God-centric, which I think for the majority of us, that's Christianity, and obviously that is very God-centric. Those Abrahamic beliefs tend to be very God-centric. I think the argument can be made that the Catholics are a bit more polytheistic than the rest of them, but with all their saints and whatnot, but God-centric nonetheless. And it's difficult to go from that worldview, and it's part of the overculture, so even if you're coming from an atheist background, you probably still have the notion of being God-centric. I mean, most of the time, we're really interacting with our ancestors or with, the landvitir. And ancestors, and I've mentioned this in my Heathen Worldview video, ancestors don't always mean blood, it's those that came before. Like, I have a grandfather that I always talk about that's not blood, but he helped to raise me, and I was much closer to him than my biological grandfather on my mother's side. I consider him an ancestor, and I hail him in blood like all the time. And if you want to know more about the Vatir and all that, I'll link my Heathen Worldview video in the description because I explained it in there. But yeah, those are at least my top 5 that I have noticed about mistakes that new heathens make. So you probably noticed I haven't been posting too much. I've been navigating the Texas job market, despite being licensed in 2 states for security and having both the state certifications, the armed and unarmed security in Texas. It's been difficult to find a job, and I'm thought that I found a decent career path, trying to get away from security, but that's kind of up in the air right now. And I'll do a video specifically about that, but that's why I haven't been posting. One good way to get a hold of me or interact with me is the subreddit r/Norse paganism. It's kind of been blowing up. Chances are, if you're watching this, you've been on there and I pointed out my videos or something. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of putting myself behind any kind of paywall. I can't ethically justify any kind of money-making scheme with this channel. I don't know, there's a lot of religious guru types that do things that I just don't really agree with and I can't do. So I'm not going to be doing any readings or anything anytime soon because, I don't know, I feel like that's more of a personal thing, and I'm not a big fan of the exchange of money for it. If that's your thing, that's your thing, but for me personally, I can't justify it enough to do anything like that, and divination's never been my get down anyway. And as far as advice and stuff, I'm always available on any of my social media. If you message me, I'm gonna answer. So I can't imagine putting that behind a paywall either. Short of something miraculous turning this YouTube channel into a career until I find something in this state that works out and gives me enough time to post. That's another thing. The other job is working me like 6 days a week, so my one day to do errands and spend time with my family is errands and time with my family. So all that being said, be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. We are the sum of our actions. Scar!